They're coming back, not next year, not even in the autumn. They are returning at the end of this month. Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lily are coming back to Britain in the next few days. Their stay is expected to be a lengthy one, several years, because Archie and Lily are going to enter the British education system.
Prince William exploded, and can you blame him? Absolutely not. Do you want them to return? 89% of you say no at this point. Yeah, they've changed their mind. They've changed their mind, Richard, because they realise they're not making the money. They're hated in Hollywood. They're not even invited to the Oscars or the Emmys. So King Charles has to wake up, okay? Because the idea that Harry and Meghan are coming back here just to be private citizens is delusional. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were to Megxit the most unhappy royal homecoming in history. Yes, they are on their way back, folks. The dastardly duo, the fake Duke and Duchess, have tonight confirmed a return to the United Kingdom. They informed King Charles on Sunday.
Something about Harry and Meghan's latest reported UK plans has hit a nerve almost instantly. After years of public tension with the royal family, high-profile interviews, a Netflix series, Harry's memoir, and a very public move to America, reports are now suggesting Britain could once again become a serious part of their lives. And judging by the reaction, plenty of people are asking the same basic question. After everything that happened, why come back now?
What have we always said? The biggest risk, P. Dinah, for Prince Harry is to want to leave that woman while they are in California, because she would get custody of the children and he would not be able to return. So there is a lot going on here, P. Dinah, and I think a big part of this is Harry preparing for his post-divorce world, where he has the children in the United Kingdom. Because guess what? He's stupid, but when he reads in Vanity Fair, confirmation of a report that I first made, P. Dinah, that his wife is shopping around a post-divorce autobiography, surely that's when you wake up and you say, I can't stay here. I can't stay here. She is setting me up.
So he's forcing her. He's forcing her hand. I'm going back with the children. I agree. This is why it was so sudden. This is exactly why it's so sudden. What's Meghan going to do if Harry says, I'm going back with the kids? What is she going to do? He has every legal right to go back with these children. Meghan doesn't want to go, but now her cards have been played. She doesn't have a chance now, because now this is going to be on UK soil.
The reports claim this may be more than another quick visit. There has been talk of moving arrangements and possible school plans, making the situation sound much more serious than a few days spent attending royal events. None of that means every reported detail is confirmed, but the possibility alone was enough to send royal commentators into overdrive. Piers Morgan quickly joked that he might have to leave the country, while Megyn Kelly responded from America. "We've done our time here, my dear friend." Meghan McCain was even sharper, saying, "They could never hack it here," before adding that Americans were not particularly interested in what she described as D-list royals. Lee Cohen summed up his own reaction with one dramatic word: Armageddon.
And on hearing this news tonight, I just urge Prince William and Catherine to stay strong. The public are with you. The British public do not want these chancers and grifters and no good people who actually have been on a campaign to destroy the British royal family back on British soil. This is a nightmare. They must not.
I think this was Harry making a very abrupt decision to go back. Just yesterday, reports are talking about how he's going to go back more often to the UK. He was already planning to go to the UK and then come back. And I think something has happened because they are not aligned in purpose. Don't think it's Harry and Meghan making this joint decision. This is Harry alone making this decision. And now Meghan is going to have to follow, because I think there is a problem with this as a couple. They are not in union.
That reaction tells you how heated this story has already become. Instead of simply welcoming the possibility of Harry spending more time in Britain, critics are treating it like another chapter in a royal feud that never truly went away. Online, much of the conversation has focused less on Meghan and more on Prince William, with commenters arguing that William should hold his ground if his brother starts rebuilding a more permanent presence in Britain. And that's where this gets much deeper than another Harry and Meghan headline.
The king is still battling cancer. Catherine has had this remarkable recovery, but they needed time and space, to use a quote, to move towards fuller, more
Yeah, but Harry
engaged.
knows time is running out, Richard. I've been saying for a long time, Harry knows that the window is closing because the moment that George comes of age, which is in about 5 years' time, Harry is a goner. This is his last window of opportunity.
The real question is what their return could mean for the balance inside the royal family, especially when Harry's relationship with William has remained publicly strained. Former BBC royal correspondent Peter Hunt raised one of the strongest possibilities. He suggested William could be apoplectic about the situation and warned that Harry returning could create the appearance of two competing royal circles, one surrounding William and another surrounding Harry. That doesn't mean Britain would literally have two royal courts, but from a public image standpoint, the concern is easy to understand. Royal commentator Tom Sykes described the reported development as a huge slap in the face for William. He then raised another awkward issue. What happens if King Charles begins inviting Harry back into major family occasions? Christmas is one thing, but appearances connected to nationally significant royal events could create an entirely different level of tension.
I wonder whether I stay in America now. I don't want to be in England when Harry and Meghan live there, going shopping to the local supermarket. Oh, have I introduced you to my husband? I'm Meghan Markle and I'm back in England. You're welcome. I might stay in America now. I don't want to go back when they're there. Yes, it's an insult that Harry and Meghan want their kids to be British, but you are free of those two grifters. America can rebuild from here.
Sykes also argued, there is no way the late Queen would have allowed this to happen. Whether everyone agrees with that interpretation or not, it highlights why the story has become bigger than a simple relocation rumour. Critics believe Queen Elizabeth II maintained much firmer boundaries between working royal responsibilities and the lives of family members who stepped away. Robert Jobson has also framed the situation in unusually serious terms, describing the family as a crown divided and comparing the scale of the current rift to one of the monarchy's most difficult periods in modern history, the abdication crisis. That comparison is massive and maybe even deliberately dramatic. But underneath all the noise sits one uncomfortable reality. If Harry really does establish a stronger presence in Britain again, William may soon have to deal with his brother being physically much closer, while the personal issues between them appear far from resolved.
This is William and Catherine's worst nightmare. Harry and Meghan have got exactly what they want, which is they've enjoyed the privacy of traveling to the United States, living in a private home, of course, living their lives as they see fit, making money. So they're days away from returning, days away from tearing up that agreement, which was conducted and drawn up in good faith by the late Queen. Poor Elizabeth is no longer here to enforce that deal and to defend the legacy of her time as Queen.
But the biggest concern, reportedly coming from people sympathetic to William and Catherine, isn't simply that Harry could be living closer again. It's everything that comes with reopening a chapter the Wales family may have hoped was finally settling down. The Oprah interview, the accusations that followed, and years of brutal online arguments created a level of pressure that didn't disappear just because Harry and Meghan were thousands of miles away. And Catherine's situation makes that history feel even more sensitive now. Looking back, the public eventually learned that she had been dealing with serious personal challenges while facing enormous attention. So when people online reacted to reports of Harry and Meghan potentially returning, some weren't treating it like ordinary royal gossip.
The people, by welcoming Harry and Meghan back into the fold on their terms, then I don't think anyone is going to be able to respect the monarchy. I will not be able to wait for the reign of William if Harry and Meghan are welcomed back as full working royals after the unforgivable, bridge-burning, permanent, horrible behavior, deeds, and words that they committed against the royal family, against the institution.
They were questioning whether bringing the Sussex drama physically closer to William's family could restart tensions everyone had spent years watching unfold. A repeated theme across the reaction was simple: William should stand firm. Rather than repeating individual social media posts, the overall mood was clear. Many commenters wanted the Prince of Wales to protect the stability around Catherine and their children and avoid being pulled back into another exhausting public feud. That leads straight into one potentially awkward situation: Christmas. If Harry and Meghan eventually receive invitations to major family gatherings such as Christmas at Sandringham, William could face choices that go far beyond seating arrangements. Would both brothers attend? Would their families be comfortable together? Or could William and Catherine choose to spend Christmas elsewhere, perhaps with the Middleton family?
This will be an absolute nightmare for Catherine and William. It'll be a nightmare for the British monarchy. This is something they do not need. And I'm sure we'll see Harry and Meghan during the Sandringham walk. They'll start to insert themselves more and more. And Charles, as we've seen, especially even inviting Andrew to Balmoral, has been very firm that blood is blood. And I think Harry is on his route back in, and I think Meghan will probably follow.
At this stage, that's speculation. Not a confirmed plan, but it shows how one reported move could create a chain of uncomfortable decisions. There's also an obvious irony critics aren't ignoring. Harry stepped away from life as a senior working royal, publicly discussed how trapped he felt within the institution, and later revealed deeply personal details about his family. Now reports suggest he could be preparing to establish himself much closer to the brother who remained inside that system and continued carrying out royal duties. But claims about why this could be happening are where things get especially messy. Some commentators have tried connecting the possible move to Harry and Meghan's finances or even their marriage. There is no solid basis to present either explanation as established fact, so those theories need to stay exactly where they belong, in the rumour column.
When she or Harry decides to leave, now he's got the upper hand with his family and the children already in school being established within the UK government culture and educational system. So this is something that Meghan does not want to do.
Gonna bring you some facts about what this is really about. The marriage is on its last legs, and the money is running out fast. And Meghan Markle did not want to do this. Trust me.
As ever, despite her insistence that it's a smashing success, I think has been an abysmal failure. They failed out of Hollywood. We just have to look at Cookie Queens to see that. And so they're going back. They're going back in their fallback career and slinking back to the UK. And I believe it, and yet you don't believe it at the same time. And this is just going to be an absolute.
What can fairly be discussed is how surprising a serious UK return would appear after Meghan spent years building such a strongly Californian public image. Her lifestyle projects have leaned heavily into that California identity. Sunshine, gardens, cooking, entertaining, and the relaxed Montecito aesthetic. Britain offers a very different backdrop. Moving from California to the English countryside wouldn't automatically destroy that business image, but it could certainly force Meghan to rethink how she presents it. And unlike California, where celebrities can disappear behind enormous properties and private communities, Britain's royal press environment is much tighter. Harry and Meghan returning wouldn't mean escaping attention. If anything, every appearance, family gathering, and interaction involving William or Catherine could become another headline.
They're ruthless. Meghan, I agree. I don't think
Harry too. They're both ruthless.
There is no. I think he is weak. The problem is he's not very talented, and she isn't either, and he's not very bright. But I think she is an intriguer. We've seen proof time and time again where they spring things. Where they used to, for example, when members of the royal family were doing X as an engagement, they do something else to get publicity. This clearly shows, though, they're loose cannon.
So Meghan's Netflix deal, which involved 16 episodes of the truly horrific With Love Meghan show, was not fruitful. That deal stopped. Ted Sarandos tore up the retail agreement to sell Meghan's horrible jam and flower sprinkles. My husband! And of course, Harry's speaking engagements have been a disaster. He was earning $1 million per speech when they left the United Kingdom. It's gone down to $50,000 and the gigs are drying up. So Harry and Meghan have failed resolutely in the United States, and that's why they're coming back to Britain.
Then came an especially awkward television moment. During a live discussion about the couple, one defender argued that Harry and Meghan were the pair who were properly in love, before attempting to contrast them with William and Catherine. The host quickly pushed back and defended the Wales' marriage. It was supposed to strengthen the argument for Harry and Meghan, but instead it showed just how quickly this reported return is dragging old comparisons, old rivalries and old royal tensions straight back into the spotlight. Then came another detail that made the whole situation look even more awkward. Reports suggested King Charles was only informed shortly before the story became public. According to the version being discussed by royal commentators, Harry didn't spend months working through some carefully negotiated return with his father. Charles was reportedly told by phone on a Sunday, leaving the impression that much of the plan may already have been moving forward. Robert Jobson, who has covered the royal family for decades, described the situation as a fait accompli. In other words, his interpretation was that Charles wasn't necessarily being asked for permission. He was being presented with a decision that had effectively already been made, with the added emotional reality that a return could allow him to spend considerably more time with his grandchildren.
Do you have any idea, do you think, how loathed people feel about the millions because of the way they treated the Duke of Edinburgh? You said it half an hour ago, the Queen. And that's the reason that I believe that William has an issue here. He was fine.
And his wife, JK, and his wife.
Yeah, I just think it's extraordinary, and I think that these two grifters have no idea what the United Kingdom thinks of them.
Jobson used much harsher language when discussing the pressure surrounding Charles, arguing that the king had effectively been pushed into an extremely difficult position. His conclusion was straightforward. The king has made a mistake. The palace response, meanwhile, has reportedly focused on Charles welcoming opportunities to see more of his family privately. On the surface, that sounds completely understandable. He's Harry's father and the children's grandfather. But critics believe the bigger issue isn't whether Charles should want a relationship with his son. It's whether private family emotions could eventually collide with his responsibilities as monarch. That's why calls for Charles to take a tougher approach have resurfaced. Some critics are even demanding action over Harry and Meghan's titles, although there is currently no indication that such a move is part of the reported arrangement.
Talked about the exile of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. You know, the one thing that we can say is that after a certain time, when the Duke was crying poor all the time and, was constantly telling his brother George VI that he needed more money, that they didn't constantly throw it in the face of the monarch. I mean, this is such a brazen and malevolent move to move back after all of the unforgivable actions, behaviors, and words that were spoken. And Dan, they are unforgivable. That this son who was a traitor to his country and his birthright, to his royal birthright, is going to reestablish himself over there against the wishes of probably everyone, the monarchy, the people, the government. It's just unthinkable, and Armageddon is the only thing that I can think of to sum this up succinctly.
Definitely. They are now leveraging the kids for clicks, for headlines, to boost their brand, and for money.
The frustration seems to come from people who believe Charles repeatedly chooses reconciliation, while William is left dealing with the consequences. And William is the part of this equation that can't simply be ignored. The Prince of Wales remained within the institution, continued carrying out royal responsibilities, and is preparing for his eventual role as king. If Charles becomes increasingly open to Harry returning to Britain, every decision could affect his relationship with William as well. Jobson suggested that eventually the palace may feel pressure to bring Harry closer, inside the tent, rather than leaving him completely outside the royal circle. That's only one interpretation of where things could go, but it raises a major question. Would increased access gradually turn into increased involvement? Then there's the question of timing. Why would Harry and Meghan seriously consider strengthening their connection to Britain now? One theory being pushed by critics is that their commercial story has become harder to sustain without fresh royal material. Their biggest media moments were heavily connected to royal life. The Oprah interview, their Netflix documentary series, and Harry's memoir all drew enormous attention, partly because audiences wanted an inside look at the family. but claiming they've simply run out of material goes further than the evidence proves.
I think looking back at this meeting with Charles and them not telling him, I think they were gauging how he would react to something like this, trying to figure out how soft he would be, and they're clearly seeing weakness, and they want to pounce because they know if they wait until William is king, or if they do it too late, William can basically undo all their royal titles and everything, and the royalty is the only thing that's selling for them. So they desperately need to reestablish this.
It's difficult for the king, as we said, he wants to meet his grandchildren, he wants the meeting to take place. I'm sure you've got William there saying, Dad, you've got to be really, really careful because this could completely backfire. And I'm sure William doesn't want it to backfire, but I think there's been already quite a few occasions where William's probably turned around to his father and sadly said, "See, Dad, I told you so." And it's really awkward for the king because, this is his son, he probably knows his son is right with what he's saying, but he's still a father, he's still a grandfather, and he's still trying to do that job as well.
Meghan has pursued lifestyle and business projects outside the monarchy, while Harry has continued work connected to causes including the Invictus Games. Still, there's no denying that stories involving the royal family generate a completely different level of attention. That creates an interesting possibility. Harry wouldn't necessarily need to become a working royal again to regain some of that proximity. Simply spending considerably more time in Britain could place him closer to family events, royal developments, and the institution that has remained central to public fascination with the Sussexes. And that's why this reported move matters so much. It wouldn't automatically mean Harry is returning to royal duty. But after years of building a separate identity thousands of miles away, getting physically closer to the monarchy could completely change the conversation around what Harry and Meghan do next. And this is where the California to Britain theory starts getting more interesting. If Harry and Meghan's strongest source of public attention has always been their connection to the royal family, then simply being closer to royal life could become valuable in itself. They wouldn't need official duties or a palace office. Proximity alone would guarantee headlines whenever something happened.
Netflix money has run dry, that house is dilapidated allegedly, and so now they're going crawling back. Okay, and I think Harry and Meghan, I think they're going to try to push Archie and Lilibet onto George, Charlotte, and Louis. I think they want all the cousins to be friends. I think they want the kids to come up in the next generation. You have Northwest and Mason and all the little ones coming up. I think Harry and Meghan, that is their plot. But this really just is interesting timing that they have the judgment. He's going to have to owe a lot of money. Their finances don't seem to be in great shape.
Can't believe you're on text terms with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Mother Goop, she would never send me a wickless candle. She would send me a vagina candle. But no, they should not be getting taxpayer funded security anywhere. Okay. If y'all have allegedly made all this money from Netflix and all these side deals and who knows what other deals they've got going on. When you're someone like Prince Harry, rich people just give you money all the time, whether it's Silicon Valley or whatever deals you have going on.
Critics are connecting that possibility to questions surrounding their commercial future. There have been plenty of reports and commentary about how their entertainment deals, speaking opportunities, and Meghan's lifestyle ventures are performing. But claims that these projects are completely dead, or that companies are simply done with them, shouldn't be treated as confirmed without solid evidence. Robert Jobson raised a different possibility that immediately attracted attention. He predicted that a return could eventually produce carefully photographed charitable appearances, potentially including Meghan interacting with children. He also suggested there could be interest in photographs showing Harry and Meghan's children alongside their royal cousins. Again, that's a prediction, not something the Sussexes have announced, but you can understand why those images would attract enormous attention. A photograph bringing the younger generation of the family together after years of tension would instantly travel around the world. Meanwhile, reports sympathetic to Harry and Meghan have suggested King Charles's health may be an important reason for wanting to spend more time in Britain. That explanation is certainly possible, and a son wanting to be closer to his father during a difficult period wouldn't be unusual. Still, critics remain sceptical because of the history between the Sussexes and the wider family.
It's clear that Meghan Markle, the last thing she wants to do is to return to the UK, where she will get an even more icy reception than she gets in the United States. And her reception in the United States these days is pretty low. So she, at every turn, I think there's going to be peril for her. So I am completely in agreement. There's trouble between them. I have to say, I feel for the king because this is something that could really be so stressful for him in the health crisis that he is enduring that it's really too much to bear.
And they were so lucky to be allowed back into the United Kingdom, because I can tell you that this government that we have at the moment are trying to tighten up illegal immigration, and they're trying to keep certain characters out of the country who have no right to be here. And I would include Harry and Meghan as two unwelcome aliens after everything they've done to the country.
Some point back to the timing of the Oprah interview while Prince Philip was seriously unwell, along with the production of their Netflix project during the later period of Queen Elizabeth II's life. Those circumstances don't prove that a future return would be commercially motivated, but they help explain why some royal watchers aren't immediately accepting the most sympathetic interpretation. Then there's another part of this story that deserves attention: how the reported move reached the press. Commentators noticed that major newspapers appeared with remarkably similar information at roughly the same time. That led to speculation that the details may have been deliberately briefed rather than independently uncovered. Coordinated media briefings aren't unusual in celebrity or royal coverage, but if that happened here, it would suggest somebody wanted the story launched in a very controlled way. Jobson also highlighted what he believed was an interesting detail about which publications received information and which apparently didn't. One newspaper that has been involved in Harry's legal battles was reportedly absent from the initial group. That doesn't prove retaliation or some secret media operation, but it does raise a fair question about whether access was being managed strategically. And access matters because the first photographs surrounding any serious return would be extremely valuable.
Don't get to allegedly be setting up pap shots and leaking, and then on the other hand want to claim your privacy has been breached and you are the victim. The only victim in this case is Harry's bank account, because he will be picking up this bill, and I have no sympathy. Hypocritical.
What it demonstrates is that Harry missed being at home, which we've said for months. His body language in America has been a disaster, and it's quite clear that Harry and Meghan, separately and together as a brand, have completely failed in the United States.
Harry arriving, Meghan appearing publicly in Britain again, the family's first outing, or eventually even an appearance involving other royals, would create enormous international interest. Publications naturally want to be positioned close to those moments. So as the reported return gets closer, another question is emerging. What kind of reception would Meghan actually receive? Former Sun editor Kelvin McKenzie predicted that she could face booing during public appearances. That's his prediction rather than a certainty, but the possibility reflects how divided public opinion remains. And journalist Alison Pearson raised an even broader question, one that goes directly to the contradiction critics believe still hasn't been properly explained. And after all the arguments, predictions, and reported plans, one question still hangs over this entire story. What would a serious return to Britain actually mean for Harry and Meghan's position? Because returning privately is one thing. Slowly becoming more visible around royal life again would be something completely different.
It's my understanding, too, that Harry was so uplifted by the small crowds that showed up for him when he was in the UK in July. You know, he went home and reported to Meghan. People were asking about her. People were cheering for him. That's because sane people don't show up for people they don't like. You know what? People that don't like you aren't going to show up where you're at. He does have a small base of supporters.
Yep.
And I think that some of these people are dangerous to the monarchy because they're angry and believe that they are royal racists within.
Critics have also pointed to what they see as a major contradiction. Harry and Meghan previously spoke about racism, hostile media coverage, security concerns, and the pressure they experienced while living in Britain. So, if reports of a more permanent UK presence are accurate, people are naturally going to ask what has changed. That doesn't automatically mean their previous experiences weren't genuine. Circumstances can change, relationships can evolve, and Harry may simply want his children closer to their grandfather. But after years of explaining why leaving Britain felt necessary, a significant return would inevitably bring difficult questions with it. Robert Jobson has warned that without clear boundaries, the monarchy could begin looking chaotic, and the reaction on television showed exactly why. On the same night this story exploded, one commentator even floated the idea that William should somehow be passed over in favour of Harry, referring to the fantasy scenario as Henry IX. To be clear, that's one commentator's opinion, not a realistic indication of how the succession works. But the fact that such a suggestion entered the conversation shows just how quickly this story went from relocation reports to another debate about William, Harry, and the monarchy's future.
How are they going to spin this? That Megxit is now in ruins and that Meghan is going to live in the United Kingdom. She's this feminist and this entrepreneur, this global influencer, but she's going to live in a little house, a rented house in Windsor, selling her jam online for a few dollars a hit. Good luck with that. This is a really embarrassing day for...
Can't believe anything that these two say. They're not reliable narrators. And so the people that do like Harry and Meghan are fiercely protective of them and hateful and harassing the working royals because they believe Harry and Meghan's initial story. I mean, they did an entire 6-hour Netflix docuseries where they accused the United Kingdom of racism, and they accused Megxit of being a racist term. And I mean, it's just been chaos over the last 6 years. So the fact that they think that everything's going to be hunky-dory, it tells you how delusional these two people.
And that brings us back to the timing. Some critics believe King Charles represents Harry's best opportunity for rebuilding stronger family connections while his father remains monarch. William's relationship with Harry appears considerably colder, and nobody can know exactly how William would handle the Sussexes once he becomes king. Claims that he would automatically remove titles, cut invitations, or completely shut Harry out remain speculation unless William himself makes those intentions clear. But the uncertainty creates pressure now. If Harry wants a stronger connection to Britain, waiting indefinitely may only make that harder. Charles is his father, and despite everything that's happened, there still appears to be some possibility of maintaining a personal relationship. With William, the road back could be much more difficult. Maybe this really is about family. Maybe it's about the king's health. Maybe practical concerns involving the children are playing a bigger role than outsiders realise. Or perhaps Harry and Meghan simply see advantages in having one foot back in Britain after spending years building their lives in America. Whatever the explanation, the reaction proves one thing: people haven't forgotten the past.
But the last thing I'll say, not to hog the floor, I don't think anyone in the UK should trust them again. I don't think Prince William will ever trust them again. I don't think Catherine. If King Charles wants to let his son back in his life, I understand he's the only parent. I get that. And King Charles, we have some other criticisms of him as well. We love him, but we have some critiques as well with protecting the West. But I just think it's interesting that they're going crawling back now, but no one's going to trust them because they've done tell-all books, reality shows, docu-series, Oprah interviews, everything time and time again. And I just think past behavior is the best indicator of future.
Now I want to know what you think. If Harry and Meghan do establish a serious presence in Britain again, should Buckingham Palace make the boundaries completely clear and emphasise that they remain non-working royals? Or should Charles leave the door open for Harry to become more involved with family events? Drop your take in the comments, because this debate definitely isn't disappearing anytime soon. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, share the video with someone who follows all this royal drama, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. There's always another twist when celebrity and royal stories collide. And don't click away just yet. Check out the next video appearing on your screen for even more celebrity drama, controversies, and stories everyone's talking about. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.